So this is getting really interesting now. So I bought a postcard of the Alfred Jewel, so I could see the detail on it. It's quite a decent postcard, and I got a book on it. I bought a book on the Alfred Jewel, and it's got loads of other things in it as well. Now, the thing that I forgot to mention in the other video, when we were talking about the other Astells, was I did discuss the fact that it's meant to be called the Norwegian one, but its actual name for the Norwegian one is the BORG. It's called the BORG, right? And I have been raising issues with Kirklees Council in my previous complaints, for example, about what all the university's been doing in the design of the university and the design of the new health and wellbeing centre and the new cultural heart that they're taking comments on. And I have noted that, particularly because of Sir Patrick Stewart's, he's from Huddersfield and he was a representative of the university, that one of the buildings of the university really looks like a BORG cube with glowing up lights, and it's meant to be a sort of tribute to Patrick Stewart. But the thing is, the building completely blocks off the view of Castle Hill from Sainsbury's car park by the big roundabout by the bottom, which is a tragedy, really. If people... It's probably one of the main actual places out of town where a hell of a lot of people go through, and you can't really see it very well from there. Now, the university might like it, but symbolically, it's like we've had a BORG building planted there. And I think that the new design for the Health and Wellbeing Centre, which they've approved, is also BORG-like. It's like we're having multiple BORG cubes landing. Now, you might say, oh, well, all buildings are square shape, all buildings are cubes, even that old Crown House that they're going to be regenerating. But it's sort of that all buildings aren't tech cubes and they aren't perfectly square. If you look at old pubs, for example, all those pubs we've lost in Huddersfield, like the Unicorn and ones like that, they weren't all square. Old cottages weren't square. Tudor houses aren't perfect square. If you go to Murfield Village near the parish church and the old building and the old building in Upper Hopton, and if you go to Armonbury, Wormwold Hall, they aren't perfectly square. They've got all these very intricate decorations and shapes as part of them, and a lot of them are longhouse shaped. So I actually challenge the fact that buildings aren't perfectly square BORG shaped usually. Now, the fact that our Liberty Hill in the other video I discussed, when you follow where does it point to Whitby, right, and then further out to Norway. Now we're getting some sort of, it's not coincidental. Now, another thing that I need to mention as well is I've just been doing some reading about the early church and the setup of the early church, right? The very first... I've just read a page about all of, the Anglo-Saxon, the pre-Norman churches, and Whitby actually figures into it right up at the top of the list of high importance. There's a very important event that happens in Whitby to do with the establishment of the modern churches, right? So that's relevant as well to Whitby. Now, and then another thing is, out of those Astells that are found, that's shaped exactly like our Liberty Hill, which is the hill in question, as well as Castle Hill that we're complaining about being built on. Now, one of the other Astells, and there are only 7 or 8 of them, so really relevant, is that, as well as the BORG one, there's another one that is a round ball shape. Now, a round ball shape is a complete and total opposite from a cube. It's a round, perfect ball shape of geometric pattern, so it's the opposite of a cube, So, these motifs, these symbols are highly, and the names, the BORGs, it's all relevant. Now, we know that, it's sort of relevant for the programme, but most people who aren't studying anthropology or aren't studying the church or aren't studying archaeology or are just fashion students in Huddersfield pottering around Snow Island, and it's Patrick Stewart who is from here, and we've got a BORG building, and it's kind of novelty value and a bit jerky, but the BORG symbolises being assimilated, and that now is in current affairs, in world events that are happening now. What are the major big issues are metadata, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk neural link. These are the very controversial issues. All this artificial intelligence and the mind melding. This is the thing that a lot of people are worried and scared about and don't like, and there's a lot of controversy about. And this is where it becomes relevant, because in that film where it features, the famous man from our town, it's about getting assimilated by BORG in the motifs in it, and we're actually having BORG buildings. If I wanted to have a town that was, tribute to Patrick Stewart, I wouldn't have a BORG building because it's the enemy, isn't it? I mean, even on Doctor Who now, when Jodie Whittaker's running around, there's a lot of things going on there to do with, there's a lot of motifs in there that are relevant to current affairs that the producers have decided to put in there. They've got those big spaceships landing and planting themselves into the, floor, even in the middle of a football pitch. So it is relevant. Now, another thing that I want to mention is, right, even though this Astell pointer, the Alfred one, was found, down in Somerset or wherever it was, okay, a lot of these are found in the Wessex area out of those 7, or down the southwest. The thing is, right, you might say, oh, what's it got to do with West Yorkshire, or what's it got to do with, our, area or Hillbull? The thing is, the way these people think when they make things, and symbology also, is, look at the gold on it. It was found and it was made in a certain place, but where is the parts from? Where are the material source from? Where is the gold from? Is it Welsh gold? Where do they get the quartz crystal from? They come from all different parts of the realm, different places of the realm, It's like the whole point in studying, at Worthing, having Sisbury Hill Fort, which was a major prehistoric supply of flint, and they lived on the hill fort and got flint on the hill fort. It's a place that sources flint. Now, the king might have had a flint. You could have had a prehistoric king with a flint spear, and it might have been the king's flint spear, but the flint might have been from Worthing, but it might not have been found in Worthing. Do you see what I mean? So, the head of this is definitely like Liberty Cap shape, Now, if that was relevant to the early church, which clearly is, and look at this sword here. They've got this. They found this sword, and I'm just reading about it now, and I've just opened the book. And it's a beautiful piece, and that clearly the top of the hilt. Now, if that isn't a mushroom cap, I don't know what is. Why else would you have that on the end of it symbolically? So, if our area. Not only our area, I'm not saying like Whitby or Scotland or Wales, or even Dartmoor, but our area is one of the Liberty areas, and therefore surely is a source of it when it's legal, when it's not made illegal and, wiped out by the church or absorbed into it and it's not used anymore for, proper baptisms or use by the main part of the population, So, but this is what we're reading about now. This is why it's about education and the study of all manner of subjects, from, and to be honest, Huddersfield's mainly known. The main Huddersfield new building is all about sewing and arts and crafts and things now. It's I really do not like these BORG buildings, like this Health and Wellbeing Centre, and another further one, and half of the top's missing off it as well. It's there are other shapes which are more symbolic to our area and will flow with and fit into the landscape as well. Not unlike that Sage Centre, for example, at Gateshead. I'm not saying like that, but a lot of the churches and cathedrals have got special channeling shapes of spiritual energy, and that's what the whole long barrows and the court shapes of the long barrows are about. It's sort of, I really don't like the university taking over with these BORG buildings and shapes. So I might even submit I've already submitted comments on the Health and Wellbeing Centre, and I've already submitted comments on the Cultural Heart as well. And in fact, I think I did submit comments on the Health and Wellbeing Centre as part of my comments in the Cultural Heart as well. So and Wessex and the South is very an important centre in the Alfred period, in the Anglo-Saxon period, but once you start getting back to, the Romans and then just before then it actually shifts upwards, and we are a major centre. So at that point, we have got, we've got important heritage, and that's when this area is, even though you've got separate different rulers, separate different kings, the Druids were meant to be one order, which permitted the whole island, really. So, and I think that our area figured into that importantly, because even though, we've got, Scotland and Wales and mountainous, our area definitely has got these sites and they fit the symbols perfectly, and all the rest of it is relevant as well. Particularly when you figure Whitby in, because Whitby actually comes, and the whole point of this Astell is to have a pointer that points somewhere. So if you got liberties from somewhere, even if the ruler doesn't live in that area, the gold comes from somewhere else, and all the separate parts come, and maybe the liberties come from somewhere else that were being distributed around. So and the pointer actually. This item has a pointer and points somewhere. So if you're thinking about, a liberty-shaped item that points somewhere, it meaning in symbology is it couldn't be more fitting for it. So, and it is this period when we're looking at Whitby figuring into the formation of the church, which I can put the link to the web. I'll put the link in this video to the web page that tells you about that as well. Because it's all about, this is also relevant to, like there's Clogteach being built before the bell tower part comes on. I've just actually been reading about the early churches, and most of them were sort of rectangular shaped. And it's actually due to the Irish forming those bell tower parts, the Clogteach, and there's a few in Scotland as well. We don't know where else they were that have been demolished, that it actually becomes part of the church. And those Clogteach, the top of them definitely is Liberty Cap shape. There's actually no doubt about it. And in Ireland, some of those majorly important ones are the Wicklow Hills, which are sort of similar altitude to the Pennines. So it is relevant, very relevant and important.